criminal justice. You started protesters, and he was warmly received. Criminal justice is a very important issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great that there's finally been some progress here. I think there were some big mistakes made in the 90s with legislation that went too far and was too strict, and really hasn't helped produce a more law-abiding society. And so I think it's good that there's some bipartisanship on this issue and that both sides can come together. And I think with the First Step Act passed, I think last year, I think this is some really good progress.
I want to tie in with you, Dan, with Young Voices. What the president said earlier in the week, that this process was a lynching.
I think that's a terrible word to use, obviously. I mean, it calls back to the worst eras of American history. Jim Crow, slavery. Bringing up a word like lynching is just another example of the president putting his foot in his own mouth.
Well, let me ask you something. Is there such a thing? Let's walk in the president's shoes. Let's say we had to endure what the president had to endure. Some of it caused by him. Others is the deep state. There's a lot of blame here. I could understand. I call it just about anything. A political lynching.
I think you can call it a political circus. That's
not a lynching?
I want to go.
They're not trying to take him out?
I don't think they're trying to take him out, so to speak. I think they're trying to.
Are you serious?
I think it's a political circus, and
you don't think they're trying to take him out?
The due process concerns that you raised are legitimate, but using the word lynching, Armstrong, come on.
Lynching is when they're trying to kill you, assassinate you, take you out. You don't think they're trying to take him out, Jason? Come on now.
They're trying to take him out, but I think words still matter, and the meaning behind words still matters. And
but the president don't always understand the meaning of those words. He says whatever comes to mind.
Exactly, that's the problem.
That is right.
That might be the larger problem.
Yeah, partially why he's in this mess.
But sometimes when we're under fire, under chaos, and death is at our doorstep, we say things that we don't normally say.
Sure, but we can ask for more. We can ask for better.
But this president has been consistent.
That is the one thing he's been consistent on, is sending off tweets that are just stream of conscious.
So, I found it interesting that Amazon lost that $10 billion contract to Microsoft. Now, there were concerns raised. Let's be clear about that were raised. But some people are saying that Amazon can appeal it because of the president's angst against Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. When the news first came out, I did wonder whether that might have been part of the decision. But at the end of the day, we don't really know. As a defense contract, there's likely to be a lot of secrecy around the specific reasons as to why this decision was made. And I'm not sure whether the president's own personal viewpoints about Jeff Bezos and therefore Amazon and the Washington Post are necessarily grounds for really pushing back on it that hard. I think Microsoft is a good company, and I do not think that they've been awarded this for no good reason. So I think it's maybe a little bit harsh to say that it's worth pushing back on like that.
What stories did we miss this week that did not get enough coverage, Jason?
It's a good question. I think, well, there was one thing that happened with Kellyanne Conway in the Washington Examiner that I would be remiss if I didn't mention. But
because it happened with your paper?
Just saying. But she called up one of our reporters and harassed them in a manner that I think
she was trying to say that she was not giving her credit for her own power and she was giving it to a man.
No.
She was standing up for
I don't think that's what was happening. I think she was
that's what she said.
I don't think that's the way it happened. I think what she said was, she was upset that in a story that was about her potentially being chief of staff, which she was, knew was very likely that the president was going to read, reminded the president and readers that her husband is very opposed to President Trump, and that's relevant context in that story. So I think she was mad that, this was a reminder that, if she does become chief of staff, that this is going to be a nagging feature of her tenure if she did become chief of staff.
Dan, why is it that we only find the good, the integrity, and the honor of an elected official when they die?
That's a great point. I mean,
why? Elijah Cummings is a saint now. They put him into heaven yesterday. Before that, they were trying to put him in purgatory. What happened? He died.
It's a really odd point, and I was listening to the eulogy at one point and had no idea that him and Mark Meadows were great friends.
I was shocked.
I had no idea until
and Mitch McConnell.
It blew my mind.
I was stunned.
It absolutely blew my mind because the partisan rancor between somebody like Meadows, who's kind of, you know, a Freedom Caucus type guy, and someone like Elijah Cummings, you would think they hate each other. And Mark Meadows was brought to tears during this eulogy. So I think we need to kind of look at the humanity in each other a little more when we're talking.
And I think part of that is that we don't see it. When you watch congressional hearings, these people are fighting, they're yelling at each other. You don't see, you know, that respect that you see when the TV cameras are turned off. And so I think if those hearings were held less for entertainment value and for media value and more for fact-finding and for respect for the other side, then we might have a better idea of those relationships.
It seems to me
let me ask you, do you want to die before people find you good? Is that what you're saying? You got to die before they find it?
I think there was a time in politics where, and I think there was still some discontent in the public about it, but where politicians did seem to get along more, where people were worried that there was not enough of a difference between the parties and there wasn't enough accountability. And it seems to me that there's like an uncomfortable pendulum swing between people viewing politics as just one big club, people who all get along and are acting in their own interests, and then swing into the other side where everyone seems to hate each other. It becomes, as you kind of described it, a big media circus, and it just gets a little bit too much. It becomes a little bit too uncivil.
Let me raise this, and you're not going to like this, but I'm going to raise it. Elijah Cummings and his wife were being investigated, almost an indictment. I'm sure that's going to go away. So I'm going to ask you this question. Who was Elijah Cummings?
That's a great question, and I think it's another situation where we don't really know the answers because of the way politics is kind of covered in this country. We don't know a lot about people personally, and we don't ask a lot about their policy positions anymore. It's, are you a D, are you an R, and how rambunctious can you be in your rhetoric? And we don't actually get to the heart of who people are and where they stand on issues anymore, and I think that falls on us in the media.